Hi, this is James, the unofficial mayor of Cowboy Country. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you are here. The bad news is Willie the Wildcat has not come in the mail yet, so just have these so far. But Willie is headed our way, and I will get a P.O. box soon. So if you feel like you want to donate and have your team represented, that will happen soon. Now, you know what? Let me change the order around here a little bit. I love you, Cosmo, but I want Pete in the shot at all times. All right. Yeah, there's a chair here, by the way. I almost wish I could just get rid of it. That way it wouldn't be in the shot. Week 7 picks. Yeah, some people are going to be like, I left one off last week, and I forgot to include it. But I had picked Kansas State over Iowa State in the Barndominium or whatever they call it. It's a good rivalry. Two classy programs. And so essentially, I'm not 33-15. I am 34-15 so far this year. A little under 70%, but things are coming along just fine. Now I have to do it's technically Wednesday night now, but I will release the video later so that way you can watch it on Thursday. I have to do that because we got 3 games between Thursday and Friday, so I don't want anybody to say, well, you called that game after the game was over. No. So let's go right into it. Baylor at West Virginia. Now, I, at the beginning of the year, thought very highly of West Virginia. Have to admit, I thought they were going to have a 10-win season. That's probably not going to happen. I guarantee it can't happen because they lost to Pitt, they lost to Texas, and they lost to, I know they're 2-3, but I know they beat Vodtech up pretty bad. So anyway, I do think that Neil Brown can get things fixed there. He may need a new defensive coordinator, but I do think they can get things fixed there. Baylor, West Virginia. I've seen Baylor in person, and I've now seen West Virginia in person. Interesting that one weekend where I went to the Baylor game, and then I drove down to Austin and saw West Virginia at Texas. So these are 2 teams I have seen in person, and I will say that Baylor is pretty good at running the football. And that being said, I liked the way West Virginia came back in the second half against Texas. No, they didn't win, but there was a grittiness and a determination there that I liked a lot. So I'm actually going to call this as an upset. I'm picking the Mountaineers over Baylor. I am picking West Virginia. Honestly, if it was in Waco, I'd pick the Bears. So Temple is at UCF. I made the mistake of picking SMU over UCF last week, essentially the week before, but they played it on a Wednesday. I'm not making that mistake again. Go Knights. Temple is going down in Orlando against UCF. Friday night. I will be there. I'm going because I want to see SMU. I want to see, do they deserve to be in the Big 12? My gut feeling says yes, but I want to see them in person. Navy at SMU. Navy is a lot like Air Force and a lot like Georgia Tech used to be. The option offense used to be the norm in the 80s, and now it's not. It's kind of a oddball. And it's hard for teams to practice against it because people don't normally run it. So you have to find personnel that can actually run the offense just so you can practice against it. And I will tell you as a former football player, let me put this down for a second. As a former football player, I will tell you the option, defending the option, is all about assignment football. So I was a safety, and the defensive end had to essentially try to force the quarterback to pitch. So, but if he couldn't get off his blocker, the outside linebacker would take the quarterback, and then the way we did our defense was, if power side was to the right, I would move up. If the power side was left, I would play back. So there wasn't a real true free safety or strong safety. It was a matter of what side. So if they were running to the left and the power side was on the left, meaning the tight end was there, that's right. The end would jam the tight end, the linebacker would get the quarterback, and my responsibility, if they were running that way, was the running back, the pitch man. So all three people, the defensive end, the linebacker, and the safety, have to take care of business. They have to focus on their particular person, which opens you up, because if the quarterback starts to move and that tight end slips by the defensive end and the linebacker, and he's able to get by, and the safety goes after the running back and bites on the option, and they stop and pass, that receiver is going to be wide open. So it's really hard. As the safety, you had to identify whether it was a run or a pass. And if it was a pass, you had to stay back. But if it was a run, you were committed to that running back. So it was all about assignment football. It was all about discipline. You had to know who your man was and where your responsibilities were. That being said, I still think SMU is going to win. I'm picking SMU primarily because it's at home. And I thought they did a pretty good job, even in their loss to UCF. KU at OU. If you had told me at the beginning of the year that KU would be a 7-point favorite, I would have asked you, when's the last time you smoked a marijuana cigarette? And if you'd be interested in buying some oceanfront property here in Central Texas. Because I would have thought you were absolutely crazy. That being said, KU's main quarterback is out for the year. I genuinely feel bad for the guy. When I say to you KU fans that your quarterback is in my thoughts and prayers, I absolutely mean it. Okay? I don't want to see anybody get hurt on the football field. Okay? I try to be a gentleman on this channel. So anyway, I'm picking the Jayhawks anyway. I think their backup showed against TCU that he's for real, and this could actually turn into a benefit for KU. Let your starter get healthy, let your backup get some experience, and then next year contend for a Big 12 championship. Right now, KU, what you need to do is focus on beating OU and get to 6 wins and get to a bowl. Because what will happen is when you're bowl eligible and you play in a bowl game, you are authorized, per NCAA rules, 15 extra practices. With KU being such a young team, they need those extra practices. And so that's why this is important for KU to get bowl eligible. That's very important. Arkansas is at BYU. I think they're both decent football teams, but I'm going to go with the Cougars, not just because I like Cosmo, okay? Poor Cosmo, I moved him. It's not just because I like Cosmo. They're a good football team. They got a good quarterback, so I'm picking the Cougars. So, Tech and Kansas State have a bye. Houston and Cincinnati have a bye, so I'm going to throw in a couple extra teams. Of course, I'm a little partial to Utah since I've seen their stadium in person. USC against Utah. It's in Salt Lake, and for that reason, I'm picking Utah. Yes, USC has improved. Yes, they're better than they were last year, but they barely beat Oregon State. And I think Utah and Oregon and USC and UCLA, those are probably the four best teams in the Pac-12. So I'm going to pick Utah. Go Utes. And it's not because, and I genuinely don't like Lincoln Riley. I don't like the fact that he left Oklahoma. He had a good thing going there with the Sooners, and then he jumped ship. Of course, I do have to admit the Coliseum's pretty cool. I will admit that. Especially when they just fixed it up. That might be the reason why. Like I said, Tech, Kansas State, Houston, Cincinnati all have a bye. So I had to pick one more game. So at least we'd have 9 to talk about. So I picked an old... Now, I grew up in upstate New York. Okay? Now, I'm no longer... I'm a fan, but I don't like the fact that they changed the name from the Orangemen to the Orange. Syracuse was the nickname come from a specific religious group that came to America. So, in my heart, they'll always be the Orangemen. And in my heart, it'll always be the Carrier Dome, not the JMA Wireless Dome. I played my high school playoffs in the Carrier Dome. I say all that to say, what about the game? Well, you got 2 ranked teams. And yes, NC State is a really good football team. They beat Tech up pretty bad earlier this year. Of course, I would like to see what would have happened if NC State had played Tech with the new freshman quarterback. I think things would have turned out differently. But give you a little history lesson. Syracuse did a home-and-home with Nebraska in the 80s. When they went to Lincoln, Nebraska was number 1 team in the country, and they throttled Syracuse badly. It was awful to watch. Especially since as a kid I kind of rooted for Nebraska because they wore red and white. My high school colors were red and white. So it was hard for me to watch. But the next year, Nebraska went into the Carrier Dome as the number 1 team in the country, and they left as a defeated foe. They lost. I think NC State's going to lose. I'm going to give the Orange the nod just because it is at the Dome. I'm picking the Orange over the Wolfpack. So I'm 34-15 for the season, and we'll see what happens. I'm really excited about this weekend because I'm going to give you inside and out of SMU's stadium. I'm also going to give you inside of TCU Stadium, and I have a surprise Saturday morning. I'm actually going to drive up there after the SMU game. I'm going to spend the night up in the Dallas area. I'm not going to tell you where because that'll have something to do with my surprise. So Saturday morning, there's another stadium in the area that I'm going to do a video of. So be on the lookout for that. If you are new here, please hit like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. I love you guys. Thank you to everybody who watches. I appreciate you. And I hope you have a good weekend.